Hello, hi, and welcome. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. I am Laura Topper, and I'm feeling very excited and grateful to be here right now to welcome our super guest onto the show. And it's not very often that I get to be with the same guest within 10 days on two different shows. And so I'm feeling really, really, really grateful to Rev Rasheryl McCreary, who said yes to being here on the Cosmic Prayer to share her idea of prayer, to share what prayer really means for her, how it has assisted her with her life, the demonstrations that have happened for her, and what her prayer, her main prayer teaching is. Oh, this is going to be a fantastic cosmic prayer. So welcome to you wherever you are on this amazing planet. That you are here right now is absolutely divinely timed. It is perfect. And I'm just grateful that you're saying yes to opening your heart to learning more and understanding more about this wonderful practice that we call affirmative prayer, spiritual mind treatment. And Reverend Rasheryl, I have known for a little while, as I was in ministerial school with her. And she is now a reverend and an executive leadership coach and the CEO of Tao Leadership Development, where she has trained, coached, and coached leaders in organizations such as American Express and P&G and HBO, PayPal, and large organizations, and Harvard Business School. So most importantly, Reverend Rasheryl grew up in religious science. Her foundations are in this teaching. And so this is why I'm just so excited and interested in what it is that she has to share about affirmative prayer. She's been a member of 11 CSL churches since childhood. And in 1993, she became a licensed practitioner under the tutelage of Reverend Dr. Michael Beckwith at Agape. Rasheryl has served the greater CSL community as a member of the CSL Leadership Council, a keynote guest speaker, a workshop retreat facilitator, and a board and business consultant and a leadership coach. Currently, she sits on the board of directors for the Arizona Foundation for Women, where she graduated from ministerial school at Holmes Institute in June 2021. So this is the super guest for today. She is Reverend Rasheryl. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I am thrilled to be here with you, Laura. Thank you so much.
You had to be here because I know you're answering a call, as we all are, to open up to teaching and to learning and to embodying this beautiful practice. So that you're here is no kind of coincidence. You know, you came onto Women of Power last week and talked so wonderfully about prosperity and money and what our seeming blockages around receiving. And so I'm just really interested today for you to share about prayer and your perspective of prayer, whatever you call this container of practice, and what it is about prayer. I mean, you've been involved, or you've embraced religious science from such a young age. What does spiritual mind mean to you for your life personally?
Yes, what a beautiful question. And Laura, I feel like there's maybe a little bit of a delay in our connection here.
A little.
So I'm just aware of that. And so yes, so I love that question. So about spiritual mind treatment or affirmative prayer, which I learned many, many, many years ago. And I think as I was preparing to come here, I was thinking that probably the thing that all boils down to for me is that it works. Right? It's that it works, and what I mean by that is the activity, or the 5 steps of treatment, the activity of aligning your consciousness with the absolute truth, right? Speaking the word from a place of absolute truth, no matter the appearance, because the prayer is always to shift your consciousness as a practitioner. And it works. Like life, you know, your life can change. You can heal things in your life. And when I think back through the power of prayer in my life and look at things I've been able to overcome or shift or change or heal or elevate or release, ways I've been able to thrive and to flourish through the practice of prayer, through you know, my daily prayers and daily alignment, is nothing short of remarkable and transformational. And I think that I don't know, I have the feeling, having been in this teaching for such a long time, I feel like sometimes now our congregants or our members don't really get the power of prayer, like that it is an absolute transformative spiritual technology. Like I don't think that people actually really get, and like some of the old school religious science people I know, like they get it, but I just feel like there's something right now or something in the last um you know, 7, 10 years, where I don't think our members are actually understanding how powerful that is. And I see it manifest because I am observing less of a use and reliance on practitioners. Right. So I see people going to coaches a lot. And there's
Right.
nothing, I'm a coach, you know, but I'm a practitioner through and through, first and foremost, before I'm anything else. I'm a practitioner. And so I just see that there's been a shift away from using practitioners a lot. Like when I came up, you know, as a practitioner 30 years ago, people had practitioners. People were making a living being a practitioner. It was very much like a coach is now. So anyway, I just want to say
Right.
that I just know it works, and I don't think people really get
I think that that's such an interesting so many levels to what you've just said, and I think it's such an interesting conversation, because I see that we're in a stage right now where everything is speeded up, and in our external experience everything's quick. We want things quickly. We want a quick fix, if you like, or a quick demonstration, or, you know, how can I get this now? And I think we're social media supports that, because within a nanosecond we can be on one thing and then in another thing. And I think do you think there's a tendency that that is how it's connected to what you're saying? Because it's like, well, that would run through with our own practice as well, and how we expect it to happen and don't have the patience to
that.
be in it while it's happening, or to be
Yeah, I
with
think
it.
people will. I totally agree. I think people want a quick fix, and sometimes the quick fix works, but many times
Yeah.
the quick fix is not sustainable. Like it feels good in the moment, but that's not a sustainable change, right? Sometimes it's just on the surface things
Right.
have changed, right? So like to go back to prosperity and money that we were talking about last week, you know, so people may come in and take a class, they do their affirmations, they do whatever, and you know, or they go to a money coach or whatever, and then they're able to you know, make more money, and or they cover their bills or whatever, and then, you know, 3 months later, 6 months later, they're back at the going through the same lack and limitation experience. And so what I know is that when you are when prayer is a part of your practice, your daily practice, around any issue or
Yeah.
anything that you want to shift, that by aligning with the all that is the divine intelligence that created everything, by aligning with that, recognizing that power is within you, speaking your word from that truth into you know, into the law that then delivers, that is a sustainable change. Like, right,
Yeah.
that, you know, that's evolutionary change, right? So if you have evolved to a next level, where you are not in you know, whatever that issue is, whether it's money or relationships or whatever it is, that prayer, it transforms your consciousness. It transforms your mental
Yes.
equivalent, so that you then have sustainable changes in those areas. So, you know, that's, yes, I think people want a quick fix, and it can feel good, but many times it's just not sustainable. That's been my experience as a coach. That's also what I've seen.
Wow. And what I'm feeling into recently, or not recently, but what's coming up for me, which I've known for a while, is that the prayer is being answered, even though we aren't seeing the demonstration. There are so many pieces for things that have to happen, and meetings and people and circumstances that are not in our perception or the remit of our observation. And it's having that patience to allow the prayer to happen in the unseen, that I think can be frustrating for me sometimes.
Yeah. I think it's frustrating for all of us, right? Having the patience, because we want what we want now. And sometimes we mistakenly think that we know all there is to know. It's like, we know, well, all that needs to happen is this needs to happen and that needs to happen, right? Like that's in our human awareness and our human knowledge base. And the truth is, and I have to remind myself of this a lot, because I am very entrepreneurial. I'm very like, okay, let's go, right? Let's do this. But I have to
Love
remind
it, love
myself.
it.
What'd you say?
I love it.
Yeah, totally. I'm like, let's go, right? That's my mode, right? But I have to remind myself, there's something more intelligent than you that created you, and it knows perfect timing for everything, right? So sometimes you just need to lay back, do your prayer work, do your work, treat and move your feet, and then just let go. Because actually, that impatience is holding on. You're holding on. You're attached to the outcome, and you gotta release it. You gotta let it go.
And the funny thing is, for me, is that I'm exactly the same as you, in that way, that I've got that kind of, okay, let's make this happen, let's do it, and how can we, and in that letting go piece, where I can relax into knowing, there is a higher power at work here, there's something else happening, and I don't need to know how. And then when it does happen, sometimes I'm pleasantly kind of like a bit shocked. It's like, oh my gosh, that's actually happened, without realizing that, yes, Laura, you did pray really, adamantly for this a year ago. And it's actually happening now. Just own it.
Yeah. God is ever amazing, right? Even though we know this stuff works, when it works, it's still like, whoa, like,
wow. Wasn't expecting that one.
I know. It's like, this stuff works. It's worked before, but still every single time it's like new, right? It's like that delight and that surprise. And really it's awesome. It's literally awesome, right? It's really literally awe-inspiring. I mean, that's my experience of demonstrations where it's like, especially something where perhaps I did have a lot of anxiety about it, or I couldn't see how things were going to work out. And when those things come through and it works, and it's like, it's so awesome, because the demonstration is, like, humanly, you could not have figured that out, right? Humanly, I've had things happen where it's like, humanly, I didn't even know to ask for that, right? Like, I didn't even know humanly what the solution was or how it would be configured, right? And it's so awesome, literally, when you see God's handiwork, because it's like, there's nothing in me that even knew like how that would happen, right? And it's just, you're just awestruck, like, by the beauty of it, right? The divine design is what I call it. It's like, it's amazing every single time. It's always new.
It's amazing. And here we are as practitioners, and you as a minister, me nearly a minister, still feeling this awestruckness of when it happens. So it's incredible, the power of letting go and letting God. I just wanted to bring in here Sharon. Welcome, Sharon. Thank you for being here. Thank you, Rasheryl. She's saying, thank you for being here, Sharon, and for shining your light here on the Cosmic Prayer today. And Robin, beautiful Robin Rice, who, thank you, Rasheryl, for a great class last week. There we go. We're going to talk about your class in a while. I encourage anyone who was on the fence. No one's on the fence. No. Or is wishing they had signed up. Sign up now. There we go. It's not too late. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
I know you're
Thank you,
doing
Robin.
magical work, amazing work. Thank you,
Oh my
Robin.
gosh. Thank you,
I know
Robin.
your work is amazing. And I really want to talk about your work. And I also want to ask you a few questions just to kind of for my own intrigue here on what it was like to grow up with a religious science philosophy coming through from your parents, because I think that's really a question that I've always wondered in my heart. Wow, what would it have been like if my parents and my peers and my those adults around me would if I would have had this by osmosis as a young child. And I wonder how that was for you, Rasheryl, and how prayer played a part in that for you.
Yeah, yeah. Beautiful question. So here's what's really interesting. We really my mom, my parents were divorced when I was young, and my mom found new thought after Catholicism and after some other stuff. And so what's really interesting though, like if we go back in my family to my grandparents, my maternal grandparents particularly. So my grandmother, I mean, my grandparents, my grandfather was Baptist, my grandmother was Methodist. They were Southern family, well educated, upperly mobile, black middle class, family. My grandfather was a leader in his community, and so my grandfather was like a good deacon in the Baptist church, and my grandmother was Methodist. But my grandmother was very much, both of them actually, but my grandmother more was very much around the power of your mind to do something, right? Or the power of your mind, like, if you wanted a better life, or if you wanted to change your life, like the power of your ability to do that. And she was a strong prayer, right? A strong belief in prayer, and had many demonstrations of prayer. And then she read The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale.
Norman Vincent
Yeah,
Peale.
yeah. So she read that book, and she was a firm believer in that, right? She was a firm believer in that, and she healed herself from some things from using that book, right? So that seed was sort of already planted, and then so then my mom grew up and got married and had me, and then they got divorced, and we moved to Cleveland. And so my mom was really searching, because even though she had grown up Baptist and Methodist, she just saw a lot of hypocrisy in the traditional Christian church, and then it was like a Black Christian church. So she saw a lot of hypocrisy there that she didn't really buy into, and so we were Catholic for a little while, because my mom really liked the ritual and the beauty of the Catholic service, but that wasn't quite a fit. And then we found religious science, which is another whole long story I won't share here, but we found religious science, which there was the first church of religious science in Shaker Heights, Ohio, that was about 10 blocks from our house, like 12 blocks from our house. And so we went there, and it was so interesting because my grandfather thought it was a cult. Like once he learned more about it, he was just like, my mom had gotten divorced and taken this child to Cleveland, and they were in this cult called religious science. And my grandmother was more open to it. But they were both Christian, they grew up Christian. So it was still like referring to God as it and not mentioning Jesus was still a little weird. But the core thought, change your thinking, change your life, they believed, and they had practiced that, but they couldn't quite square religious science and Christianity. They couldn't make that leap, right? But the core teaching, they had practiced their whole lives to make their lives better and to transform their situation from the Jim Crow South to living really well and doing really well under those circumstances. So they were practicing this stuff, right? So so my mom was really open to and understood the power of prayer. And she understood the power of your ability to change your circumstances. Like she had grown up, she understood that. So when we got to religious science, it was like, boom, like, oh, this is like a light going on.
I've landed.
Yeah. I mean, that's how she felt. And by extension, I was, I was an only child, and I spent a lot of time around adults. So I was just like, okay, like I'm in. And so going into the teaching, I remember because I always was in adult church. So, and I don't even know if they had kids. Like, I just remember the first church I went to, everybody had white, like everybody was old, like everybody was white and had white hair. Like that's my memory of it. Like I don't remember there being kids in that first church that I went to. But I sat there and I understood, like it made sense what they were saying, like what I was hearing about how you could, how your thoughts shaped your life, how you can change your life at any moment, no matter what's going on. There's things you can do no matter the circumstance. How God
Right.
is everywhere. Like God is not a man in the sky. God is source. God is really can't be described, but is energy, right? It's it, not he or she, although we may say he or she, right? So those kinds of big concepts of understanding God is closer to me than my breath, right? That's how close it is. God is inside of me, like that power is inside of me and I can use it. And then as I got older, I understood it can use me, right? But what that did was it gave me tools for at a young age, which is why I think it's so important for our young people to get this stuff and even to be in more adult church versus, because what happens is
Yeah.
it gives kids resilience, right? So even though, as a kid and even as an adult, there's things that happen you cannot control. If your parents get divorced, you cannot control that. If, something happens at school, there's some stuff you just cannot control, but you have the ability to decide how you're going to react to it, right? How you're
Yes.
going to move on from it and how you're going to dance with that thing. And that's what this teaching, I feel like this teaching gave me. It's like, no matter what was
Oh,
going, and also I just want to say this. So many people think this teaching, not so many people, but I think there are people who think this teaching, if you grow up in it, it's all butterflies and rainbows and unicorns. And like, I just had grown up in this teaching, nothing bad would ever happen. That is not true, right? That is not true. Life is going to happen. You're still going to have your
yeah.
experiences. I have had some devastating, uh, you know, uh, like, devastating, life-threatening experiences, and I've had some mountaintop high experiences. But this teaching has allowed me to be resilient and bounce back from the devastation
Yes.
and to glide and soar in the mountaintop, right? That's what this teaching has given
Yeah.
me. It hasn't made my life like, oh, I don't have any problems. Oh, everything's perfect because I grew up in this. That's not what this is. That's not at all what this is.
I'm so happy that you said that, because I think that relates to whether we've grown up in it or not, that this is not a teaching that bypasses life happening, because the experience of life is going to happen and there are things that we do not have power over within our humanness to control in that instant, just like that. And I love that. First of all, welcoming everybody. If you're here watching, I can see more and more viewers coming in. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer with Rev Rasheryl. Today we're talking prayer and her life and her work and her ideas about prayer. And I just love what you've said, because as you were saying it, I'm not comparing, but I was putting myself in how I grew up, going to synagogue every not every week, but it was different. I heard a rabbi once a month or every couple of weeks. I didn't understand a word of it, and I would be there in the adult, with my dad downstairs because my mum was upstairs, and I'd be running between up and down, really bored, not understanding it, and really not being inspired by a message of self responsibility, self reliance, self inner resourcefulness, to really lean on that. And I was just thinking about, that's what happened for you, and that's what's happened for me, and there's no judgment in it, and it just feels as if, wow, you were given this, to have that gift. You're so right, for young children to get that and to have that ingrained in their hearts, that there's something they can do. We can change the way we feel about it and how we react to it. And I'm just really also wondering, how were you taught by your parents or your mother or your grandmother to pray? Was prayer kind of like something that they were saying, yeah, if you pray, you're like, you will make these changes within?
Mhm. Oh yeah, I come from a praying
Yeah.
family. So my family believed in prayer, and not only that, they had demonstrations of prayer, right? So I mean,
Right.
you can keep in mind this is a Black family coming out of the Jim Crow South, or in the Jim Crow South, and my family on both sides, my mom and my dad, went from. I mean, just to give you a sense, right? So these folks and my ancestors went from slavery to my grandfather went to Ivy League college, a graduate school in 2 generations, right? So there was a
Wow.
huge, there was a huge, just from the stories I know, like there was a huge already belief in prayer, right? The power of prayer to transform circumstances, a huge reliance on God, right? A huge understanding, even though it was still like the God up in the sky, sort of, but there was
Yeah.
some way that they were tapping in to activate the law to work in a certain way, right? Even though they weren't doing spiritual mind treatment. And then by the time my grandparents came along, just the ways that they flourished in an environment that by law they should not have, right? The
Hmm.
ways they were regarded in an environment that by law they should not have, um, um, was the result of prayer, right? It was a result of generations of prayer, right? And so yeah, I come from praying people who understand the power of that, the power of the spiritual, that spiritual connection, that connection with God, and that connection with God through prayer and action that can propel your life forward. My grandmother, my maternal grandmother, who studied Norman Vincent Peale and Ralph Waldo Emerson and the Absolutist. I mean, she was an English teacher and a librarian, my mother's mother, and so in her library, all these books were in her library, right? So she was a powerful prayer, and I mean, literally, like I've seen, I just have seen her experience of prayer of healing, people being healed, um, things like the course of, the course, but particularly for her children, right? When she prayed for her children, there was a power in that transformed things, literally transformed a health situation or a dire situation. So there was some way she was tapped in, even though it wasn't prayer, the 5 steps of treatment. We knew my grandmother could pray. Right? She could pray, and so
Right.
there was an understanding of that innate power, even though it wasn't even though it wasn't organized as treatment later. So coming into religious science and coming into prayer treatment and affirmative prayer, it was like, oh, okay, here's a formula, um,
Yes.
and so here's a formula I can use to get myself aligned, right? To get myself
Yes.
aligned properly to speak the word and
Yes.
to have that demonstration. So they were different things, but they were really like doing the same thing, if that makes any sense.
Oh, absolutely. And I think I'm really happy that I named this the cosmic prayer because so many people come, beautiful guests come on and say, well, actually, I don't pray like that. I don't treat like that. I don't.
Hmm. Hmm.
The thing is to align, and you're right. For many of us, we need a formula to get us into that place, and for
Hmm.
some, there is no formula needed. It's like,
Right,
let's just do this. Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just
Oh,
like when you're aligned and you know the truth and speak the word, it is, and so it
yeah.
is, right? And so it is.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
but I do believe that I believe the framework of prayer treatment and affirmative prayer is a good framework to hang your hat on, right? Right.
Yes.
And
Yes.
especially if you're when you're in a high stakes situation, that's so corporate,
Yes.
speak, but you're like in a high emotion,
What is true.
you know, that's like my corporate speak, high stakes situation. Like, like when you're in that those moments where you are like grasping, like to be able to hang on to that framework, right? If you can just get to step one and then get to step
Right.
two and then get to
Right.
step three, right? Because sometimes
Yes.
that's just where you are praying. It's like, you know, the tide is rising, and I'm trying to hold on here, right? And you just
Yeah.
need that framework. So
Yeah. Oh, wow. Reverend Rasheryl, this is amazing. I'm so excited that you're here and sharing in this way. We have beautiful viewers here, whether you're on Facebook or seeing this on YouTube. Thank you for being here and for sharing. Yes, we have joining us, Kathleen. Hello. Hi, Kathleen. Welcome. Welcome to the Cosmic Prayer. And Reverend Rasheryl is sharing her idea of prayer, a little bit of her background and how she's grown up, how prayer has grown up through Reverend Rasheryl. And
I love
and
that.
what I think we'll do is I'm going to play your video actually, because you've created a video about a course that you are providing at the moment, because I'd like to talk about prosperity and about money in particular,
Okay.
but keeping it within this kind of vessel of, well, prayer and our finances, or finances, prayer and money, and how prayer can actually completely transform our financial situation if we're open and ready to receive.
Yes.
So let's first put this up. This is Reverend Rasheryl just talking about her course that is on at the moment, and I know is a very exciting course. Let's
New
see.
Thought
Coming
has
on.
a
There we go.
money problem. It's okay to talk about prosperity. It's okay to talk about abundance. It's okay to talk about overflow. But often talking about money feels taboo, or it feels verboten, like do not talk about that. And I've experienced this in our New Thought communities and our centers and with our New Thought friends. And so here's my thinking. Who better to have money and to have mastered a money mindset than those of us who are working to build a more equitable world using New Thought spirituality, New Thought technology, and all of the wonderful things that we know work. I am Reverend Rasheryl McCreary, and I invite you to join me for a 5-week online workshop entitled Manifest More Money. This work is intended to use spiritual practices and practical actions to help you bust through your money set point, to help you release any kind of money shame or guilt or limits or limited thinking and boxes you put yourself in, and to really move into right relationship, divine right relationship with money. Indeed, our divine birthright is to have unlimited abundance, and that includes money. So I invite you to join me. We're going to kick everything off on Thursday, September 1st. All of the information is right here in the post below. The link for you to register is right here for you. And here's the really great thing. If you register using the link here at New Thought Media Network, they will receive 50% of your registration fee. It goes directly to New Thought Media Network. So I invite you to join me. Let's take this walk together. Let's blow the hinges off of our money consciousness and our money limits. And let's really get aligned with that divine source of energy that we use on this plane to exchange goods and services and to create a better world. I invite you to join me. I look forward to it.
Yes, there is the flyer for the show, the post for the show, for the course. And oh no, that's coming off again. Hang on a minute. Why has it come on again?
Oh, no.
There we
I
are.
don't.
Okay, you were
Okay.
about to go twice. We
You're like,
needed to
stop
get the
her,
message
stop
really
her.
over. So
Oh,
let's
man.
delve into this. We have about 20 minutes, and
Okay.
I think this could be a really powerful conversation on, you know, zoning in on prayer and how prayer can be a really powerful practice for transforming that money consciousness, so that, you know, it's that, oh, how can I, you know, someone might be asking, well, how can I see the money in the bank, or how can I see the demonstration of money just from praying? I mean, that could be somebody's idea there. Could you answer to that, Reverend Rasheryl?
Sure. So here's the thing. What we know is that it is, Ernest Holmes says, money a spiritual idea, right? Right, right. That there, and there's a great little book. I think you can still get it on Amazon. It's like 99 cents. You can get it on your Kindle. Money, a Spiritual Idea by Ernest Holmes, and he talks about how there is that God or Source is imminent, right? It is everywhere present, and it is divinely intelligent. So it created us, and it also created the ways for us to sustain ourselves and to flourish in this time space continuum dimension that we're in, right? It created all of that. And so all of that's already available to us. Money is available to us. It is the energy, it is the crystallized form of energy that we use as a medium of exchange for goods and services, right? And so it's already baked into the whole thing, like Spirit baked it all in, that there's enough money and enough resources for us to live and to thrive. It designed it that way when it manifests itself as us. So if you start from that premise that the divine design is abundance, that's our birthright. That's like the natural order of things, and abundance in all things, including money, which is again just a crystallization of energy, right? So if you get to that understanding that there is this source that is closer than your hands and feet. It is everywhere present. It is everywhere available. It is awaiting your receptivity to it, your invitation to it, to express as money, right? And so it takes doing your prayer work to get aligned with that starting place, which is God is all there is, right? God is all there is. God is supplying my every need. God is source, right? Getting to that starting place, and then recognizing that source is within you. So money is within you. Abundance is within you. Source is within you, and it is expressing as in whatever ways we are open to it. And doing the prayer work, I liken it to like when you work out, right? I always say to my coaching clients and my spiritual clients, doing personal development work, whether it's coaching or whether it's spiritual work, it is not sexy, right? This is not sexy work. This is boring. This is like working out at the gym, right? You got to do your reps. You got to do your reps, and the prayers are reps. The spiritual practice are reps. And when you do those reps, you build muscle, you build spiritual consciousness. And then you look up one day and boom, you can wear that great outfit, right? You can wear your bikini or whatever, right? You got money in the bank. You got money coming in from multiple sources. So it's really about prayer is part of your reps that you have to do to then have an experience. And just like if you gained a lot of weight or you're out of shape, and then you go to the gym, you don't go to the gym and think, okay, I'm going to go work out one time, and now I'm going to, I'm fully fit, or I can wear my clothes or whatever, right? Like nobody, you're like, that's not, you don't even think like that. But somehow, sometimes we will pray and can have an instantaneous thing. But most times it takes you doing your daily discipline, your daily reps, your daily practice of prayer. And then you will see those numbers begin to change and to move. And there's other things you can do too, right? So for me, when I lost all of my money and everything I owned in 2010, one of the things I did was I did my spiritual practice. I did my meditation and my prayer work every day. I went to church every Sunday. I took a 4T prosperity program at a church. I was living in Santa Cruz at the time. I took 4T prosperity program like 2 or 3 times back to back. I was in a mastermind group. So what I did was I wasn't grasping at straws, but I saturated myself in the consciousness of what I wanted to do, right? And I saturated myself in that consciousness in every way. I didn't watch news about the recession back in 2010 or the recovery. I just saturated myself with the truth, which is, money is abundant. And within 9 or 10 months, and it started before that, but within 9 or 10 months, I was able to start my own business. I had 2 clients literally fall into my lap, like without even looking for them. And that kickstarted my business. And then I was on my way. So the point I'm making is, if you're looking at your bank account and you don't see what you want there, it is a difficult thing. And I have been there multiple times. I'm a business owner. Things go up, things go down. That is the nature of being an entrepreneur. So I've been there. And I know when I get there, I work on managing my fear first and foremost. So letting that fear burn off. And then I saturate and surround myself with truth seekers, with people who either have money or are working to change that. And I surround myself in the consciousness of where I want to be, and let that
Right.
incubate me until I can get there, or until something shifts. That, and here's the thing, you can do this with no money, right? You can get on
Yeah.
YouTube. I have Neville Goddard and everybody playing when I feel like I'm falling into the ways of the world, right? The world consciousness. I stop everything. I'm on YouTube and I got stuff playing and playing and playing and playing in the background. Abraham Hicks, Neville Goddard, Reverend Ike, old school Reverend
Yeah,
Ike. I have stuff
absolutely.
playing so that it's going into my that's sort of my background of my life, until I
Yeah.
can get on more solid ground, right? So those are the things I do when I move into fear, or I'm not seeing that number or the numbers that I want to see. I have to saturate myself in where I'm going and what I want. And you can do that for free.
Wow. I just love everything that you have just said. And I mean, if anybody is here and listening, of course you're here and listening and viewing. If you have any questions about this, please, or any comments, please type them in here, because I know that that you might have something, and I know that I'd love to hear what you're thinking as well. I'm thinking, wow, that's amazing. And the piece that really stands out for me is that when we're in that place of desperation, kind of, it can feel very
Mhm.
desperate and not knowing
Yes.
where to turn or what to do next. Prayer, and I think you've just punctuated this, is that prayer can also give the clues for the next step of what to take, because it feels
Mhm.
as if you'd surrendered, and then praying, and then your life opened up to, okay, join a mastermind, saturate your world in this consciousness, be the consciousness, and expand into it with all of these things that you can do. I
Mhm.
think that's really powerful, because it's for me, that's saying that you listened, you were open and available to listening, and to actually taking the action.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the thing. I'm just trying to think back. Here's the thing that I want to really just really articulate. Um, sometimes it's not pretty. Okay. Sometimes
Oh
it's
yeah.
not pretty, right? So I'm not, sometimes it's like, I'm crying and treating out loud. I'm crying and treating God is all there is, or I'm screaming and angry. God is all there is. Right. But whatever it is, I'm still standing in truth, no matter what my emotional state. Right. And there was some moment there, there's some times and moments where it's, where also it can be frustrating, like especially if you're a spiritual seeker, you've been doing this work, and then there's some issues that come, whether it's money or whatever, and they come up again and again and again, or you feel like you can't break through, right? And I've just gone through a period of that, where it was like, on the outside my life may look a certain way, but I know there's some areas where where up until this point I have not been able to break through, right? And it's super frustrating. And more than frustrating, it's like existentially frustrating, and so there are times where it's not pretty, where it's just like I'm hanging on by a thread, right? I'm in this
Mm,
treatment by a thread, just like, just trying to get myself into alignment. And sometimes it just feels like that, where it's like, I
right.
have done all this work. I have done, why is it still, why am I still here? Or I'm angry, and I still go to treatment, and I still surround myself, because you need, we need that collective consciousness. We need the container. We need a booster and incubation when we're struggling. I was a preemie. I was a premature baby. so I was born 2 months early, and
Oh,
my mom and I both almost died in that process. And I was on an incubator for a while, because I forget how much I weighed, but it was like maybe a pound or 2 pounds. It was like really touch and go, right? And so I had to be incubated until I was strong enough, even for my mom to take me home from the hospital. And so I always think of that metaphor as the same in terms of your consciousness, right? It's like, I want this thing, but I'm not quite ready for it yet, or I'm not quite ready
mm-hmm.
for this next move I'm trying to make. And in order for me to be able to thrive, I've got to incubate. I got to get support around my consciousness. I got to get my practitioner. I have to go to church. I got to take
Yeah,
classes. I need a mastermind. I got to watch the stuff on YouTube. Like I have to do these things to incubate myself, so that then I can be nurtured and strong enough to then move on to that next level, right? And
right.
then move to, and then the next level is the same thing. Like you got to incubate,
Yeah,
then you move on to the next thing. And so that's what I want to say to anyone out here who is, who feels like they're struggling, or feels like, why can't I do this? Why can't I break through? Um, and when you're having those thoughts, you got to get to higher ground and get people
yes.
get surrounded by higher ground to get you where you need to go.
Wow. And that feels to me like, okay, doing the prayer is going to certainly elevate consciousness, open our hearts, uplift our mental equivalent and our set point
Mm-hmm.
to receiving and accepting and allowing this experience of prosperity into our lives. And at the same time, then we'd be meeting others at that same consciousness also. So we're
Mm-hmm.
surrounding ourselves with people that are there or further ahead, so that can inspire us to break through by having these role models in our lives.
Yeah, and even if people are at the same level, you've made an agreement. And like for instance,
Yes.
in my course right now, Manifest More Money, there's 53
Oh,
people
let's
in
put that
there
up.
who are linking arms and linking consciousness to rise up and break through their money set point and their limitations, right? And so that is there's power in that, right? 53 people have agreed to do this work together and to rise together. And there's power in that kind of vortex, to do that kind of work, you know. Um, and I
Wow.
think people feel it. I mean, Robin was there the other night. Robin was there Thursday. And I know for myself, it literally felt like an energy generator. Like it felt like the power was so high, the energy was so high, like everybody was just plugged in. And that's what it takes to transform, to have that vortex of power where you're working on something together and you're breaking through together, right?
Right.
You can't stop that, honestly, and you can't beat it.
No. And yeah, the power of unity and intention, having that joint intention and that individual intention to make a
Mm-hmm.
change for our lives, to make things the way that we want them to be, because we know that
Mm-hmm.
the law is always operating. And so
Yes.
I'm always in earth school learning how to use this law
Yes.
in the best and most powerful of ways.
Yes.
So, so do you have anything that you'd like to share? Maybe before we do a spiritual mind treatment and come to a close for the show. Is there anything, any message, or do you have anything that you'd like to share? I am going to be putting the live link, the sign up link. I don't know. Is it too late for people to join your group now,
Oh,
or
no, no,
have
they
you
can still
closed the
join.
door?
And
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if Lindsay is still on somewhere, but if she can grab the link for New Thought Media Network, or
I
if you
don't
have it.
think she's still there. I don't
Okay.
think she's still there, but I can. But what I do have
Let me
is
grab
I
it while we're.
have. Thank you. Then I can put that into make a banner of that and put it here, and I'll put the live link in afterwards into the blurb underneath this show here, so that anybody that's interested can actually sign up if they would like to are in the course.
Yeah, and the important thing I want to say is that if they register with this link that I'm going to give you right now, then 50% of their registration fee will go to New Thought Media Network, because this is a link specifically for New Thought. So should I put it in the comments? Should I put it in the comments?
That would be amazing. That would be amazing. Then it'll go out live now, and I will put it into I'll re-edit the post and put it underneath there. So it will be in the post as well after the show.
Okay, you know what? It won't let me stick it in the comments. So I just put it in the chat here.
I'll put it here. That's perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just ask. I'd like to ask you if there's anything that you'd like to share with the viewers right now, or for anyone that's going to be watching this in the future, to inspire a regular practice of prayer, spiritual mind treatment, affirmative prayer, however it is whatever you want to call this, where we're opening up and being co-creating in a way by saying, yes, I'm going to make this a part of my daily practice. How do we get through that block of even wanting to do it? Because we can't be bothered, or there's, so much going on or whatever. How can we begin this practice of prayer for our lives in a consistent way?
I think that really, just like anything else in our lives that we do consistently, we've got to really ask ourselves, what is the value of me doing this prayer? And what am I not experiencing or not having by not praying, right? Because the things that we do consistently, there's some value in that for us, right? Even if it's like binge watching something on TV, that's soothing, right? The value is it's really soothing or entertaining for us. Or if we, take a bath every day or shower every day, right? The value in that for us is that we're clean and hygienic and people want to be around us, right? And so I think that really it's going deep within. If this is not a regular practice, to ask yourself, what is the value that would be added to my life if I, on a daily basis, affirmed my oneness with the all that is and spoke the word, was able to speak the word for myself or others in truth, standing in truth, speaking the word of truth. And what would be the value that would be brought to my life by doing that? And if the value is high enough, is it worth me doing this every day? Right. And so I think that really, from my coaching mindset as well, that's what I find helps people create a daily practice, right? There has to be a value in that it's like, oh, I have to do this, right? This is creating such a wonderful experience in my life and in my family's life. This is such a wonderful thing for me to model for my children and teach them that I have to do this, right? So that's really working from the inside out around that. And once it becomes valuable to you, you'll do it and you won't even think twice about it.
And I think that's so powerful what you've just shared, that this is empowering my life and improving my life, and therefore the ripple of that, my world and who's in my world, will be affected by this. And even when we get to a set point, like you were talking about before, and feel frustrated because why aren't I breaking through? Just to keep going, because what has worked so far is going to keep working. Even if we can't see it happening in the moment.
Yes.
Wow, Reverend Rasheryl, thank you so much for coming to the Cosmic Prayer and being here and sharing your wisdom and your light and your love and your just beaming joy, and for inspiring me and inspiring the viewers to understand prayer more and to be more available for a good, healthy, regular prayer practice, daily prayer practice. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. This has been beautiful. And I just love your energy, Laura. Just beautiful. So thank you.
Oh, wow. Well, I know, and I'm affirming that you'll come back onto the Cosmic Prayer in the future and talk again about prayer and whatever other topic you would like to align it with. And thank you to everybody that's been watching and putting your comments in. You can reach Rev Rasheryl here. I'm just going to put your website address up. If you have any questions for Rev Rasheryl, wants to know more about her coaching work, her executive coaching work, then please have a look at her website and Facebook page, and you can connect with her through Facebook also. And of course, the course details will be underneath here, so you can tune into that and find out more about manifesting more money for your life. And thank you. Marianne is saying thank you to you, Reverend Rasheryl.
Thank you, Marianne. You know, one quick thing I forgot to say on here, there are a couple people here. I have a private Facebook group that is a prayer group.
Okay.
I totally just blanked on this, called Pray, Pivot, and Prosper. I'll put it in the chat so you can put it up.
Love it. Pray, pivot, and prosper.
Yeah.
Great. I'll add that in.
Yeah.
I'm just going to add this in now. And so, and I wonder if you would join me, Reverend Rasheryl, in a prayer to kind of close the show with.
Yes.
I'll put this in here: Facebook, pray, pivot, and prosper.
Mm-hmm.
So what will this prayer be for? What's the purpose of this prayer right now?
The purpose of this prayer right now, you know what's coming through for me is peace.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's what's coming through right now.
Let's do this. Let's just for a couple of minutes before the next program comes in, just close with a prayer and open our hearts to this knowing of truth as we breathe this in. One big breath. I'm knowing that this one presence and power that I know of as God, the thing itself, this ineffable essence that is all prospering, that is all peace, all love, all givingness, and is infinite and eternal as its nature. I know that this is here right now, as it always is, creating as the idea of itself, materializing into this world of form in ways that I cannot even imagine in my heart. And I know that this is all goodness and all greatness and all love, and that this divine intelligence is expressing in, as, and through everything, and that is me too. I know that right here and now, I am this expression of the divine, just as Reverend Rasheryl is, and just as each of us are here right now. And I know that peace is here. Peace is the foundation of all of this experience of life. That this peace speaks through as power and prosperity and love and joy and beauty. And I know that as I open my heart to this and lift in my mental equivalent, I see each of us doing this right now. So as I know this, I pass this prayer over to the wondrous Reverend Rasheryl.
And so I'm continuing in that consciousness that was established, that is established. I am so grateful to speak the word. So grateful to know the power and the presence of peace that is within and as and through each one gathered here. I am so grateful to hear the divine voice, the sweet voice of spirit saying, peace, be still. Peace, be still. Peace, be still. Feeling and sensing that vibration of peace, of stillness right now, roaring through, moving through, manifesting through and as the atoms and the molecules and the cells and the organs and tissues and functions and systems of each one. Peace, be still. And so I know then that all is well. That peace is established in the hearts and the minds and the souls and the body and in the molecular structure of each one. I claim it and I know it. I know this peace radiates out from each one, out into the communities and the worlds and people everywhere right now, invoking peace into the hearts and minds and spirits, invoking peace at the core. I am so grateful to speak this word. I am so grateful to know this truth. I am so grateful for the peace that passes human understanding, that is established right now. I'm grateful for this truth. Oh. And so I know this word is complete, and I let it be. And we just say together, and so it is.
And so it is. And so it is. Thank you, Reverend Rasheryl.
Thank you. Beautiful, beautiful
Thank
time.
you. And thank you to everybody that's joined here today. And we will be back next week with the Cosmic Prayer. Stay tuned in for Practicing Prayer, the next program that's coming up, the next broadcast. And also remember to check out our website, New Thought Media Network. It's a great website. We have all the information about the shows, our vision and mission, the presenters, all sorts of projects that the network is involved with. It's there on the website. And of course, the donate button is there. If you feel woven into the consciousness of what we're doing here, bringing these amazing broadcasts to the world every single day of the year. So until next week, we'll be back on the Cosmic Prayer. Stay tuned in to New Thought Media Network. And thank you again, Rev Rasheryl McCreary, for prospering our lives right now on the Cosmic Prayer.